Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Shanieri Eze of Eze Health Center. Thanks for joining us tonight. We are going to be talking about the Healthy Family Makeover. I am so excited to have this special guest with us tonight. This is Nadine Medina. Hi, Nadine.
Hello.
So I've known Nadine for a couple of years now. She is amazing. She is, to me, she's like super mom. She
Oh
knows
God.
her stuff. When it comes to wellness, getting your family kind of together health wise, she does so much. So I'm definitely excited to have Nadine with me tonight. So just to tell you a little bit about Nadine, she is a mom of three and is also a German native. She has lived in the U.S. With her and her husband and family since 2008. After running a successful family photography business while her kids were really little, she shifted her focus to natural wellness and toxin-free living. She started this about 7 years ago and has been teaching these concepts to moms ever since. Her personal struggle with self care as a mom, keeping her family healthy throughout the school years, and running a toxin free household have helped her develop a deep understanding of being the gatekeeper of her home and family. And she has become an expert on how to find the best tools to keep the family healthy and happy. She is passionate about wellness and self care for stay at home moms and their kids, and helps moms live a more relaxed and chill life through her blog, Essential Oils Community, and online education. So you can find Nadine on IG. She's at Nadine Medina. And she has a website on nadine-medina.com. So welcome, Nadine.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah. So as I was reading your bio, I was like, I remember I don't know if it was maybe a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
we did a presentation here at my office on toxin-free living.
Yes.
And I literally still do the essential oils aromatherapy for allergies and everything. So I remember
Yes.
that and how helpful that was. So I'm just so happy to have you back.
I'm super excited to be here. I was so excited to come on. Like it's an honor to be here. So yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you got started on your wellness journey and also like shifting your family into a more healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. So my kids right now, they're 13, 12, and 9. And it's been a few years now, like you said, about 7 years that I actually really intentionally paid attention, like focus to more toxin-free living and to wellness in general, if that's the mental part of it or the actual body part of wellness. But it kind of started slowly by us trying to switch to organic food when we heard that the pesticides and all those toxins that can be in our foods may not be great for developing kids, and especially girls. So that's kind of when we made a switch there. But what also came with that is that I wasn't really aware of all the other things that were lurking in our home, as far as toxins, in the personal care products and the laundry detergents and things like that. So slowly but surely, I was learning about that and I was doing my research. And that's when I decided that there needs to be more intention when it comes to, letting things into this home and just going by what's on the grocery store shelf versus actually reading the labels and knowing what's inside of the stuff. And that's kind of where that just kind of kicked it off. I started using essential oils by the grace of a friend who shared those with me. And that was a big part of that, because through that community, I learned a lot about overall wellness, and especially for little kids, and how to keep ourselves healthy, without having to rely on more commercial things, I guess, more of a natural approach to that. And yeah, so for me personally, you already said that earlier when you introduced me, was the lack of self-care as a mom. I've always been a stay-at-home mom, so it's still a busy job, even though there's no other job involved.
Very
But
busy. It's 24 hours a day, right?
it is, yeah. And I was running a business at the same time, but I always thought that I didn't need any self-care. And, you know, it was like, oh, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need to ask for help and things like that. And eventually it caught up to me. And that's kind of where that whole thing started for myself, as opposed to just taking care of my family, but also of me. And that's what I try to teach now, because it was a big shift in my personal life. Realizing that, yes, I do need help, and yes, I do need self-care, and it's going to make me better for everybody around me. So I've been focusing on that for a couple of years now, and it's been majorly paying back for everybody, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's amazing what you just said, and it's so true, because often we have to remind ourselves as mothers and as caretakers, we take on this role of taking care of everyone else and making sure everyone else is okay, and we put ourselves last, and we don't prioritize our own well-being and self-care. You know, we think, oh, we've got it, we can go along, we don't really need
right. Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
No, we
I feel like there's a lot of guilt involved a lot of times for moms. And I try to that's kind of like my mission now, and my message is to go against that guilt, because it comes in when you either don't spend time with your kids, but it also comes in when you do spend time with them, because then you're not doing the other stuff that needs to get done. So it's almost like you can't really avoid it, but it's a mindset shift that just needs to happen. So it's something that I'm very passionate about now, because it's, like I said, it happened to me, and that's where that comes from.
Yeah, I think all of us as moms and as spouses and you know, the working moms, I mean, it runs the gamut. We just tend to take on a lot of these more domestic duties when it comes to
right.
taking care of the family, and it can become overwhelming at times. So I want to start on the topic of eating and diet. I know you mentioned that as you were making this transition into kind of toxin-free living and kind of developing healthier lifestyles, you started with eating more organic foods and incorporating it into your diet. So I'm presuming, you know, your kids were probably still young at the time. How was it transition for them, as far as like getting them off the sugar and the processed foods? Like, how were you able to successfully kind of integrate organic food into the diet?
So we are not completely sugar-free, which some people might think that, because I still kind of feel like, okay, some of the stuff just has to be part of childhood, you know, but I do try to limit that. And when they were little, it was relatively easy. I just didn't have it in the house, and it wasn't an option. And slowly but surely, they were just getting used to the fact that, you know, there's just less of that available. And I feel like that's still kind of the way I kind of go about that for them. It's like, if the snack or the thing or the sweet or the candy or the soda is not available in the house, then it just doesn't go on the table. And to me, that's the easiest strategy to get them back on track. Even, you know, after summer, it's another thing where we kind of go off board a little bit. We may indulge some here and there. And to get them back on track, absolutely, I agree. And then, you know, I feel like there needs to be this balance too, because otherwise you can't lose the fun in it. And that's just my opinion. So, you know, everything kind of like in moderation really works well for us. But my biggest thing is always, hey, don't bring it into the house, because then no one has the urge to actually even, like, you don't see it, you don't think about it. And that works for us as adults too. Like for me and my husband, works just as well for us. But that's kind of how we did the transition to that. And it was really more of, we kind of just switched from regular or conventional produce to the organic produce. And it just kind of opened everything up to where you do just a little bit more label reading and just a little bit more research, and understand that you really are in charge, you know, and whatever you let come into your house or bring into your house is what's going to be eaten. So take control of that.
Absolutely, because I think it's so important that we as parents pay attention to the eating habits that our kids develop. Because, you know, it's been shown that your eating habits as an adult typically stem from your eating habits as a child. What you used to eat, what your mom prepared, like that's where you kind of build a taste for those type of foods. So it's so important that you start early on with kind of the clean eating, whole foods, and limiting it to the children so they don't even expect it because they don't eat it much anyway. So that
Yeah, that's how it worked for us for sure. And I remember as a kid, we just didn't have any soda in the house. It just wasn't a thing. And I don't know if it was because my family didn't enjoy them or if they were trying to keep it from me. I have no idea. But I know that it worked. And that's kind of like what I go by now as a parent. Because I'm like, if, and they may go out and they have, as a special occasion, they will have a Sprite, and that's totally fine, and they love it and they enjoy it, and it's like this big thing that's a big deal to them. And I love the expression on their face when they actually get that. But I don't want to be so restrictive that they're like, oh wow, everybody else gets to do this and we don't. And I don't think that's how it is, and it's just for what I give them, I want to make sure that thing is the best choice I can get. So I do read the labels and I say, okay, maybe there's alternatives that don't have as much sugar, or maybe there's, a different version of the same food that tastes similar, or we make it ourselves. And then it's usually a better version as well if you just make it at home, right? As opposed to buying it.
Absolutely. And I found that that's kind of a good trick to get kids to eat healthier, because I think they're more likely to eat the foods that they've helped prepare.
Yes.
So I know what's worked for my kids is every year we would grow a garden. So we'd have lettuce, tomatoes, squash. And because they were the ones watering the plants and kind of watching it grow, they were excited to be able to eat their salad with the tomatoes that they grew, or the strawberries that they grew. So it's those, getting them more kind of involved in the process of actually growing the food, preparing it, and cooking it. That's what's worked for me to get the kids to.
And I love that. And in fact, we have done that too, between showing them what I eat, and just being like a good example of what I want them to embody, but also having them being part of the actual preparation process. And I think that's a big, big deal. And now they come and say, oh, can we try this recipe, or can we make something like this? And I think that's amazing, because that's just a life skill for them to learn anyway. So I love the garden. We've done that in the past too. I like that.
Yeah, that's always fun, and it's definitely cost efficient too.
Oh, for sure, yeah. that too.
So, and so going from like the eating to now like physical activity, I know, we're coming off of the summer months. It's about to be, fall, winter. It's really easy to kind of fall out of, getting into a regular exercise routine and regimen. Like, what do you do for you and your family? How do you guys kind of stay active?
So we are big outdoor fans, not as in like we go camping or anything, but just being outside. Like that's just us. And that might be my German influence, because in Germany we walk to everything. Like we walk to the store, it's just a normal thing. Everything is a little closer to, I have to say, but if not, you ride your bike. So I try to kind of pass that on to my kids. And again, the same thing kind of goes here too. It's like whatever you set as an example yourself is usually what they at least will watch. I don't know if they're going to do it immediately, but it's going to be easier, and they're going to remember that they watched you do certain things, So I'm trying to live an active lifestyle myself so that I can tell my kids, hey, if I do it, you can do it too. And I feel like that's usually a really good connection to them. For me, it was hard first to get into this exercise routine. So it took me a couple of years to kind of like figure that out. And now I have a pretty good routine. Kind of slacked over the summer too. I'm always going to be honest about that. But it was also in exchange for other memories that we made. And I think that's always a great thing. But, we're getting back into it as the school year starts now. For us, we're homeschooling. So we're going to start in about 2 weeks. And during school times, we actually have like kind of a schedule, where I take breaks with them and I literally send them outside, and I'm like, you guys are going and just run around or go into the trampoline or do something active for 10 minutes, because it also helps with focus and concentration for the school day. And I think that's another plus for just having them being active. It was a little bit harder during COVID, because before we would take them to dance lessons and, more organized activities and things like that. And that has stopped. So I'm just focusing on taking them with me when I go walking, or when we bike ride, we just take the entire family. And that's kind of like our strategies to get everybody together and just do something that we all enjoy. And Sometimes I have to push them, of course.
Yeah,
But once they're out, they enjoy it and they love it. So yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, and I think you kind of, intertwine the quality time with them too, while getting, your good exercise.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot of benefits to that. So I know, you mentioned about, the homeschooling.
Mhm.
And now that we are in this age of the pandemic, we're all like adjusting to the changing dynamics.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of parents this year that are kind of transitioning into homeschooling.
Mhm.
So I did want to kind of jump into how you've kind of prepared the kids for transitioning from the summer months now into, getting back to school with this new type of platform. And I believe, did you have them homeschooled last year too?
I did have them on this. It's an online private school that we're doing where it's a lot
Okay.
of screen time, that's. So I don't know how that works for others. I know there's different programs out there, of course. But for us, I'm trying very hard to limit screen time, especially during the week. And that has always been a thing in my house, even during public school, when they were still in public school, because I was really big on them limiting that at least during the week. And on the weekend, we're of course a little bit more relaxed about that. But now that school is on a screen as well, that gets a little tricky. So we have a actual set schedule for that. And they have to do certain things before they actually can get on the screen. So that's a big one to get them back into, is really the schedule. And I also noticed that the schedule kind of changes, even if you do in the same school setting, but when they get older, the schedule slightly changes for them. And my kids thrive on schedules and routines. So for us, it just works really easily to make some sort of checklist of any kind, like, just put it on a clipboard and have all the things that they need to get done in the morning so that they have their expectations are set and they know, oh, okay, I got this to do. And eventually it might not be necessary after a few weeks to actually have the clipboard there for them to physically check it off. But it definitely helps when you transition from summer back into school. And I've done this for a couple years now. And we've had a lot of success with that. So we do it in the morning for the before school kind of a routine. And they don't have to do it in the order. I don't care. It's like, okay, check it all off before you're ready and, try to do it by this time. But setting a timer helps as well. And then we do it in the afternoon as well so that they can get whatever they have to get done, before they actually get to do a little screen time. And it's always a good motivator.
Right. So you've kind of created a system and you set the magic word, which is routine.
Yes.
So there is like a level of like expectation. Okay, you have your list.
Yep.
Things that you're expected to do. Don't have to do it in the same order as long as you just do it.
Exactly.
So that is so important. And I know even just getting kind of organized and staying on schedule is can be a bit challenging. But you've created this system. The kids, how old are your kids again?
13, 12, and 9 right now.
13, 12, and 9. Okay. So are you finding that it's harder or easier as they get older or younger, like really getting into that routine schedule?
It's funny. I was thinking about this just earlier because the whole the system has been similar over the years, but it's still changed in the nature of it, like the way it looks. So when they were real little, of course, I felt like they had a little bit more trouble to kind of stay on task. So I made it like a little game, and it was like a memory game. We had a magnetic board. I still have it. It's funny. It's still hanging there. No one's using it, but it's adorable to look at. And I took a bunch of little pictures of them while they were doing their chores, or not even chores, like just brushing your teeth and brushing your hair and getting dressed and putting your laundry in the hamper and those kind of things. And I snapped little pictures of them and put them on magnets. And then we put them on this board. And whenever they were finished, they took the magnet from one side and put it on the other side. And it worked really well. Or they put it in like a bin or something. Yeah. And it was super cute just seeing their own actions, right? They saw themselves do it on the pictures. So they were just doing that. Oh. And now it's switched to the checklist as they're a little older. And it's like, what is that called? The markers that you can wipe off. So we got those. And that works really well as well. And I actually had the idea from a friend who I came to, and her kid's a little older than mine. I was like, what do you do? I need some help because these kids they're they're just all over the place. And yeah, she was the one who actually helped me with that system, and it was really amazing how much it made a difference.
It helped. And
I
then
shared about it on my blog, and I actually have the list as a download too. So it was that life-changing for us, really.
right. That's awesome. And it's all about kind of, finding out what works for your family and for your
Exactly.
kids. Not everything works for everyone. So once you find something that works, you just kind of stick to it and work it out and modify it accordingly. So that's awesome. You've got the kids well trained.
I mean, you can't expect, I would not expect anything else, like anything from them that I couldn't do myself. And I'd slack some mornings and some afternoons, and it's, there's obviously none of that. But I do try to give them that routine, because I know that most people thrive on some sort of a routine, because as humans, right, we just kind of, it snaps into place when you know what to expect every day. And I've been doing a morning routine for many years now, and I know that I'm better for it when I do it. And there's days when I don't, and I can totally feel the effects of not doing that. So I figured, for them to know, oh, we need to be ready for school now. It's time, we need to be done at this time. And I'm not so strict on the time, because that's just not something I'm very good at. But at least, we have a little bit of a structure, and I feel like that really helps guide them. And then on the weekend, that thing is nowhere to be found, because we're not doing that.
Free time. Yeah. That's
exactly.
Yeah, I know there's right. So it's definitely good to have that system, especially now, with the back to school. And I know there's a lot of parents out there that are very apprehensive and nervous about, kids going back to school, the ones that are, doing the in-person schooling. I know both my kids, they're in private school. I'm comfortable with them going back in person. They're very much extroverts and do better being in a school environment, seeing the teachers, seeing other kids.
Right.
So I just knew that was going to be kind of a better setup for them. They do better that way. Yeah. But of course, at the same time, we're in a pandemic, and there's concerns about, outbreaks and, quarantines and things like that. And I know parents have been very apprehensive about that. One thing that I've always encouraged is, of course, teaching your kids proper hygiene, hand washing, mask wearing. My kids are just, it's automatic for them. It's nothing for them to put on a mask and be able to keep it on most of the day. I know with myself working in a medical facility, I have the mask on all day, and it's kind of difficult for me as an adult. And, but the kids, they tend to, one thing about them, they adapt readily, they understand the importance of protecting themselves. So one thing that I've, really been adamant with my kids about is, taking their vitamin C and vitamin D every day, drinking water, proper nutrition, getting enough sleep. These are all the things that'll help support their immune systems.
Absolutely.
So God forbid if they were to come across something, and that's just in general, even if it wasn't a pandemic going on, kids always get exposed and come back and bring all whatever they got exposed to back home. So it's just important that they kind of learn these basic, routines to help protect themselves.
Yes, I agree. That's actually something I thought about earlier too, because as I'm trying to kind of mentally prepare myself to get back to our routine, I think one of the biggest things is the sleep schedule, because they've been all over the place, and I love giving them that time during the summer where I'm like, yep, you guys can do whatever you want. You go to bed at 10. It helps me too, because I don't have to worry about that. So that's a nice break for everybody, but getting them back to that schedule is a very important thing. I agree with that. And, I'm really big on not letting them up or be up too late during the school year, because I really can tell now that I am actually at home with them too. So I can only imagine how this is for teachers in a classroom when the kids are tired, Right. That's a really, that makes a difference in their attention span and things like that. So we just kind of gradually do that a little bit, just kind of like just a 15-minute earlier every day, for a couple of days in a row. So that has been my approach over the years, and that's been working pretty well. And like we said in the beginning, like the whole, nutritional factor after summer, for most people, it's probably getting back to more of a healthy eating pattern and routine. And for me, that also involves having enough snacks at the home, so that I can prepare stuff for them that's not just on the fly, but it's actually nutritious and feeds them well, and feeds their brains too, because obviously nutrition is not just for the body, but it's also for your focus and your brain function and things like that.
Absolutely. And your immunity, like to keep
yes, and the immune system.
Fight off germs.
Yeah, exactly. And that's such a big thing too. With the immune support, especially right now, it's always been a big deal to me. And that was one of those things that I mean, when you send your kids to school at first, it's like, whoa, okay. So they come back the first week with something, right? Like, I mean, outside of this pandemic, let's just, talk about the regular.
Right.
So I found some ways to actually help keep them from getting sick all the time in the school environment, because I had 3 kids, they were all in different schools, and it's just like germs galore coming back to my house. So that's definitely a focus of ours too, is to kind of boost their immune system whichever way we can.
Yeah, especially with this, I mean, technically we are getting into flu season, even though the flu rates were very low last year.
I think it's the masks. I think it was the masks.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought that was really good.
I mean, there's definitely benefits to wearing the mask. I mean, it's one of those things where, it can be a little annoying at times, but I mean, it's definitely helped reduce the transmission of a lot of these germs and bugs that are going around. So, really keeping in light of just kind of keeping a healthy home environment. So I think we touched upon that a couple of times earlier. Of course, keeping a clean house. One thing that, is a major issue for a lot of people is allergies. So whether it's indoor allergies, outdoor allergies, or allergies to specific things, really getting a good grip on that. I always recommend you should be, changing air filters in the house on a monthly basis. Try not to have running fans on all day, because that collects dust and kind of whips dust into the air. Getting the carpets cleaned at least every 6 months, or even more frequently than that. I mean, little things like that to kind of keep the buildup of dust and germs and everything inside the house. I know, like, if you've ever come across any strategies on how to keep the allergies and allergy symptoms under control, is there anything that you do in particular?
Well, I actually have been much better about keeping the fans clean and my carpets and stuff since we talked, you and I, because you did recommend those things to me. And I did. It's honestly something that I don't think a lot of people think about it immediately. Like, oh, the air filters. It's one thing that we've changed them out, but it was not very oh, that has to do with the allergies. Like that to me, I was very grateful for that reminder from you. What we do in our house too is we diffuse essential oils, which help clean the air and just kind of purify it as well. And then there's specific essential oils that you can use when you already feel something coming on, and it's kind of sniffling and that kind of stuff. So I have all my kids equipped with their own little roller that they can just use at this age. They can, and that has been super helpful. And of course, we do have the occasional allergy pill that everybody has to take too. But again, like you said before, we're trying to go the natural route and the environmental route first, and see if we can get it under control before we have to reach for other things that will definitely help as well. Oh, I think you're muted. Hang on. I think you're muted. Can you hear me? Oh, I couldn't hear you for a second.
Right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
I'm sorry, I was talking. I didn't even realize I was on mute there. So yeah, I mean, what I was saying was that, it's so important that you kind of identify the things that are, that you could be consistently being exposed to and may have a sensitivity to and don't realize it. Yeah. So I know I like what you mentioned earlier about, 7 years ago, you slowly started to kind of decrease the exposure to certain products and commercial, items, and using more natural products. And that, has made a difference. So in your experience, how were you able to transition to reducing the amount of household products and things in
Yeah.
your.
So I feel like the healthy homes, like in my opinion, you need to start with the understanding that you actually have potential toxins in your home, and it's not something that we all learn just like that, because a lot of those things are just sold to us in a store, and because they're on the shelf, we automatically feel like they must be safe. And but these toxins can be found in cleaners, in air fresheners, in laundry detergents, in your personal care products, in hair care. Dryer sheets are a big one as well. And for me, once I learned about them, it's almost like you can't look back. It's like, ooh, now that I know that this is a potential hormone disruptor, or like endocrine system disruptor, or can mess with immune systems, or really just kind of make you less, or make you more vulnerable, I guess, against a lot of things. It's almost like you can't just look past it anymore and be like, okay, I'm just going to use it anyway. So I had to look around and be like, okay, what do I need to look for? And then there's, of course, certain like chemicals that you can actually find on the labels, right? And so you can just read them and know what they are. There's also certain apps that can scan them for you, and then they tell you, oh, okay, so that has a rating of, there's like a 0 to 10 scale. And of course, the higher the rating, the worse it would be for your health. So you can find alternatives that are a little bit better. But what I did, I just committed to going toxin free entirely, which means little by little, I just started switching and ditching is what we call it.
Ditching.
So it took a while, because it's not like you can't really replace everything all at once. That's just kind of not realistic. So it took us a little while to kind of build that up. But we started with the things that are touching our body the most. So it was the laundry detergent. I dumped dryer sheets when I first heard how really unhealthy they are for you. And there's alternatives that you can use to make your, laundry smell nice and make it soft. And then we just slowly moved to, to lotions and shampoos and things like that. And it took a little while, but then we were able to actually ditch it all. And it felt really good, because a lot of like, like little things when you're just like, oh, I feel like you said, allergy is a big deal. Huge deal, right? A lot of people are like, oh, I'm allergic to this or that, or I can't even pin it down. And a lot of times it goes away when you switch things out in your home. My husband always reported, like, through those years, he's like, wow, I just feel better. I just sleep better. I feel like there's like less brain fog, or whatever you want to call that. But you just kind of like, it's like something lifts, and you just breathe cleaner air, and it just has this overall effect, even if you can't pin down especially, oh yeah, this thing has gotten better, but it's like an overall better feeling. Definitely the immune system is highly impacted by it, I believe, because we have noted a lot less sickness over those couple of years since we started doing that. So to me, it's so worth it. Yeah, so worth it. So,
that's amazing. Like in your online community, do you kind of help guide people in how to slowly transition, or do you have like guidelines or suggestions?
Yeah,
on
that's actually a majority of the teachings that we do in our community. It's essential oils and other products that we use and that we teach about. But we are very big on teaching people about the toxic chemicals that might be in their homes, and to actually have them read the labels and not be shocked and not feel bad and not feel guilty. That comes in there again. But just to be aware, and then from then, when you know better, just try to do better. And yeah, we do monthly education classes, not only on the toxin-free living, but also anything that has to do with emotional support, sleep, things that you can do to sleep better, reduce your stress, and just kind of overall wellness that comes from looking at the products that you bring into your home.
Absolutely. So I like how you look at it from a holistic approach, because it's a lot more than just switching out to organic foods, or, replacing a, highly chemical household product to something more natural, but what you're doing emotionally and how you are, your mental state as well. So.
Okay, I can't hear you. Why not? It just stopped. Is it me?
No, it is
Oh,
me.
okay.
It is
You're
me.
back.
Can you hear me? Can you
I
hear
can
me
hear
okay
you
now?
now.
Okay, so I apologize to everyone. It's technical issues on my end. So what I was saying was that, in talking about the importance of self-care, we talk about all the external things like your
Yes.
diet and exercise and all of that, but your mental health, your emotional health, even your spiritual
Yeah.
health is important. I think I kind of froze there. Sorry. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. So, looking at the importance of self-care and wellness. So what do you think are some, effective strategies for, stress management?
Yeah. So stress management has been a huge topic in our house for the last like about 2 years, to where we were really making that a focus. And like you just said, it has to be a holistic approach. You have to look at wellness from all the different angles. But somehow the stress factor, I feel like it gets pushed by a lot of people, by a lot of families, by a lot of moms, unfortunately, because it's always something that we feel like, oh, it's not that bad. Oh yeah, we might be stressed, but it's like society is like just like it's normal, right? Everybody is stressed. So we tend to not think about it. We just know we're stressed. And then it's like, oh, I don't know what to do about it. So we have made a very intentional like we intentionally approached stress management in the last about 2 years, especially during the pandemic, because of course everybody's stress levels went back up. And like I said earlier, I used to struggle with the self-care aspect for myself for so many years, and it really had an effect and a ripple effect, on a negative one, obviously, on my family. So I had to learn very slowly to actually take care of myself through different things. And what I do now, my favorite tools that I use and that my family starts to use too. I have my daughter doing the same things as me, and it's just so lovely to see that she's using these tools as well. One of my biggest things to stress manage is meditation. Um, I just love the effect that has on me, especially when you do it more than just once here and there, when you make it a routine and when you make it a practice. And that's something that I've passed on to my kids already at that age. And I just love that, because I wish I had that when I was a teenager. It would have helped so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I think teaching kids early, and again, I apologize to the audience. I think my camera froze there. But hopefully you can hear me okay, at least.
I can hear you still, yeah.
You can hear me fine. Okay. So yeah, I think that's so important, because a lot of times we think that it's us as adults that get stressed out, and not recognizing like kids can actually be stressed and have anxiety
Yes.
and
Yeah.
have depression, and it may present a different way. I know I did a webcast a couple of months ago with a therapist, and she was going through what the signs are of depression or anxiety in kids, and one of the things that really struck me is she was saying that children who may complain about stomach or GI issues a lot,
Oh, yeah.
that could be a sign of stress and anxiety for kids. So, looking for things like that and teaching them early, like stress management strategies, recognizing it when you do see those signs in your children or other family members. It's so important. I know even as busy moms, coming back to the self-care thing, it's so easy for us to find ourselves totally burned out. Like we just keep going and going and going and going. And then until we just have, God forbid, a medical issue that pops up. And it usually doesn't just pop up out of the blue. These are things that have probably been going on for a while and had been ignored. And then until it got to a point where you couldn't ignore it anymore. So really understanding and finding out at what point, you really do need to take the time to pay attention to self-care. So what are some of the strategies that you've actually recommended for avoiding burnout?
Yeah.
Mothers. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So the what I said earlier, so the meditation is a big one for me, to continue that not only through those times when I feel stressed, but also do it when when I'm not stressed. So I made it a part of my daily routine because it's preventative, right?
Right.
But I feel like burnout is a huge issue, especially when it comes to moms and motherhood. And like you just said, it can just like the external sickness or disease or anything or any issue with your health can just kind of sneak in over time, and you don't even realize it until it's actually too late. So my personal strategies is now that I've been there, I've gone through that, and I didn't like it, and it's not fun when you don't realize that you need breaks. Okay, are you there still? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. I'm just trying to fix the
You
camera.
just kind of you reconnected the camera. I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So the preventing it is always better than having to go through it and then realizing, oh, I got to change something. So I feel like the mindset is a big component, and that's something that I was missing and that I was struggling with, is just that mindset of, as moms, we just literally can't do it all. And just knowing that and being okay with that, and then adding all these tools in, like get good sleep. Like if you love like some TV shows at night, I totally get that, but then it has to compensate somewhere. And I'm a big supporter of good and enough rest and sleep, because it really, that goes all the way too. It's not just your mental health, but also it goes into your physical health. Sleep, the meditation, mostly good nutrition. And again, nobody is perfect and no one expects that perfect nutrition, but just overall, my husband always says the 80-20 rule. So 80% out of the time you want to try and eat good. And really work on that mindset that we're doing our best every day. And I know everybody does, but when something doesn't work, it's not a big deal. And I feel like just taking that pressure off and taking that stress out of your day, where you don't beat yourself up for not having gotten to everything on your list, or, not doing as well as maybe somebody else, and this comparison trap comes in too. It takes all that pressure off and it takes all the stress away. And I feel like that's a really big deal when it comes to that burnout. A lot of times, and this is what I found in my community and from the moms that I speak to every day, is they compare to others too much, and no one really knows what's going on in somebody else's life. So it's really hard to do that and hold yourself to a standard that someone else might exhibit that you don't even know if it's true, right? So a lot of that stuff it's made up in our heads about what we should be doing and what others are doing and how that looks on the outside. And then we kind of miss the fact that none of that is necessary to live our life and have a really joyful life, instead of being stressed and rushing from one side to another of our house and our lives, and just,
Yeah, you said it right there. I think, again, we as mothers, we do that comparison game.
Yeah.
We want to, we having good intentions to do the best we can for our family, but what works for one family may not work for another. And what you see on social media and what people post and how things are presented may not really be the reality behind the curtains, right? So
exactly.
Again, finding what works for your family, what works for you, knowing that you can't be super mom. And I even have to tell myself this, I run a business, I'm a single mom, I've got like so many things going on all at one time. But I realized, hey, it's okay to get help. It's okay to, relax and not try to do and be everything. So really prioritizing that is important. So I definitely, oh my gosh, there's so much I want to talk about, but we have to wrap this up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I love your tagline for your business, wellness and joy. So I want to hear from you kind of in your own words. What does that mean? What is that actually? How do you achieve this idea of wellness and joy?
Yeah, so Wellness and Joy is actually the name of our wellness community, where the people who follow us around in the essential oils and the more natural approach. So that's that community that we created there. And I think that the most important thing to me is to not look at other people necessarily what wellness and joy will mean for you as a family, but use other people as inspiration as to what worked for them. And I personally love not putting a lot of pressure on ourselves as to what really constitutes joy in my life, because other people have maybe completely different interests than me. So just finding that for yourself, whatever makes you happy, do more of that. Because ultimately, if you do that every day, then that's going to be your life. And that's just such an important thing, instead of, like you just said, comparing to other people's, what I call highlight reels on their social media or whatever part of their life that you see. And so it can mean something completely different for everybody. So start by getting clear on what that would mean for you. What is a joyful life for you? And for us here in my family, wellness and joy means that I spend as much time with my family as I can, and I try to make that time intentional, just like I make, and running a business, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. When you spend time with your family, you want that to be intentional and you don't want that to be interrupted. But then when you spend time on your business, you also want that time to be intentional and non-interrupted, so that you can give your full focus. And I feel like that's a really big deal in terms of finding that happiness and that joy, is to not jump around back and forth and trying to multitask. It really doesn't have a good effect on your overall emotions and your feelings. So using my time intentionally, teaching my kids to take enough time for themselves as well, and giving them that freedom that you guys need to take care of yourselves, and I want to teach that to you. And just doing things with passion, just find things that you really love doing, and ditch the things that you are only doing because you think somebody else is doing them too, and that's just what you have to do. Get away from the shoulds, and that will automatically create that wellness and the joy in your life. I believe
that is such wonderful advice. I'm sitting here taking notes. I know you guys can't see me. But I love it. I absolutely love it. I kind of scream it from the rooftops how important it is to just be your authentic self.
Right.
Find what makes you happy. Focus on your mental health, your emotional, your physical health, and that of your family. Knowing your priorities and what's genuinely and truly important to you. Sticking to your boundaries as well. Like you said, the whole multitasking thing is overrated. Like, you're doing a whole bunch of different things, but not very good if you're doing it all at the same time.
That's exactly right. I agree with that. Yeah.
Focusing it on one thing at a time. So this has been an awesome talk, and thank you so much, Nadine, for.
You're welcome. I love talking about this, so I really appreciate you giving me this platform to actually talk about this very passionate topic of mine.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I definitely want people to be able to connect and reach out to you. I'm just going to tell everyone your website again. It's www.nadine-medina.com, and I'll spell that out. That's NADINE-MEDINA.com. And that goes straight to your wellness website, correct?
That's my blog, and it focuses on, so I talk about chill mom's life a lot, because that's what I want to embody, is just to be more chill as moms, whatever that means for the individual. But I do talk about a lot of strategies to use to improve your mindset when it comes to self-care, because that was something that I was lacking. I didn't think I needed it. And now I'm really trying to help moms to guilt-free take time for themselves, and not feel like they have to do it all, but that there are enough. So that's what that blog is about. And there's a lot of natural wellness is included in that, because I believe that with those tools that I was mentioning, the morning routines, and using these not only essential oils, but also other supplements and tools that you can use. So I talk about that a lot, and how you can include that in your daily life, in your daily routine, and just take a breath, and let things be if they have to be. And I'll be honest with you. I'm not 100% there yet every day either. I do well some days, and other days I need to give myself the pep talk. So when I write a blog post, it may be just because I needed it that day, but I know that other moms need it as well. So that's what you can find there. And then Instagram is where I also hang out quite a bit, more than on Facebook most days. And that's where you can find me too, to just kind of follow along with whatever things that I find that help me, and I know that it will help other moms as well. And we have education too, like kind of an online class format is actually similar to this, where you can learn specifically more about the toxin-free living, the morning routines, the essential oils, and we kind of cover various different things. When it comes to the oil education, it goes from keeping your kids healthy, like we talked about the immune system, better sleep, stress management, emotions, anything you can think about, where we have helpful tools that really, I'm just so passionate about teaching that to people, because there's so many ways to keep your family healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the holistic approach that you take. I love your posts. I follow you on Facebook and Instagram, and I just loved the little funny ones that you do. And
we do a lot of reels.
Really good. I'm really impressed. It's nice. So I definitely love it. So to follow you on social media, so on Instagram and on Facebook, is it at the Nadine Medina?
Yeah, on Instagram, it's at the Nadine Medina. So just put the in front, Nadine Medina, all one word. And then on Facebook, it is just my first and last name. It's just Nadine Medina. You should be able to find me there on the Facebook page as well.
Awesome.
There's definitely, I know there's more going on my Instagram. So
yeah.
Find more content there.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Nadine. I definitely appreciate your time. I know you can't see me because my camera kind of zonked out on me, but this was an awesome talk. Certainly anyone in the audience who's watching tonight, if you have any questions, you definitely can still, type it in the chat area. We'll be able to get back to those answers to you, a little later. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Thanks again, Nadine. And you all have a wonderful night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night. Bye-bye.